This is mathheals.com. You can find more links to YouTube videos, math videos, on this site. Let's take a look at factoring trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 1. Let's go over our factoring techniques. Some of them we've seen already. Now, our first method is GCF, greatest common factor. And we always try to do that. Our second method is grouping. And this is when you have 4 or more terms. Our third method is the PSD method. And this is when it's of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Our fourth method is the key number. And this is when you have the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Our fifth method is dots, difference two squares. And this is two terms with a minus between them. Our sixth method is the difference of two cubes. And this is when you got two terms with a minus between them. And our last one is the sum of two cubes. And this is two terms with a plus between them. Now the first five are the important ones. These are the ones eventually you go on to college algebra. This is what almost all of your factoring revolves around. I think in the current college algebra book we're using, there's 2 or 3 problems in the entire book that use these last two. But these you see all over the place. So these are the ones that really need to have down. Well, let's take a look at the key number. This is when you have the form x squared plus, or x squared x, no x, and there's a number in front of your x squared. So we'll emphasize that over and over. So number 1. We got 4x squared plus 17x plus 4. Come up here, GCF. There is no GCF. Groupings, 4 more terms, that doesn't fit. PSD, x squared x, no x, and there's no number in front of your x squared. Well, that doesn't fit because there is a number in front of our x squared. Key number, x squared x, no x, and there's a number in front of your x squared. X squared x, no x, and there's a number in front of your x squared. Well, that fits. So we're going to take the number at the beginning times the number at the end, and we would ignore signs. They're both positive anyway here, but if this was a negative 4, then again we'd just go with a positive 4. We handle the signs later on. And we're going to create 3 columns. The P stands for our product, and we're going to write down all the product that give us all the products that give us 16. Well, we got 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4. The S stands for sum, and we're going to add these two numbers together. 1 plus 16 is 17, 2 plus 8 is 10, and 4 plus 4 is 8. In the difference column, we're going to subtract a smaller number from a larger number. 16 minus 1 is 15, 8 minus 2 is 6, and 4 minus 4 is 0. Now the number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 17, which is right here, which means we're going to use 1 and 16. And when I say we're going to use it, we'll rewrite our middle term using those two numbers. So we're going to rewrite the 17x using those two numbers. Now we have a note that I put down here. Your larger number in the P column that we're using, your large number in the P column is always the same sign as the middle term. Well, a larger number is the 16. And it's going to be the same sign as the middle term always. So it's going to be a plus 16x. Now, if the number you circled in the S column, S for same signs. They'll both be positive or both negative. If the number you circled in the difference column, then there'll be different signs. One will be positive and one will be negative. The number I circled in the S column, S for same signs. So if the 16 is positive, then the 1 will be positive. Well, then we use factoring by grouping. Remember, factoring by grouping, group first two together, group the last two together. And looking at just my first group here, the GCF of those is 4x. And that gives me x plus 4. On my second group, they have nothing in common, but you always want to factor something out. So if nothing else, you can always factor out a 1. And that gives me x plus 4. Now they both have an x plus 4, so I'll factor that out. And remember, you can cross these out to see what goes in your second set of parentheses. So this would be 4x plus 1. And that's our answer. Well, let's look at another example. Excuse me. Just woke up. So for this one, GCF. There is no GCF. All three terms have nothing in common. Grouping. Well, that's 4 more terms. That doesn't fit. PSD, x squared x, no x, but now there's a number in front of our x squared. So PSD doesn't work. Key number. X squared x, no x, and there's a number in front of your x squared. Now, they don't have to be x's. You can have y's or whatever variable, but it still follows that form. And that's all we focus on. X squared x, no x, number in front of the x squared. So that's key number. So we're going to take 5 times 12, number at the beginning times the number at the end. Now notice I ignored the negative on 12. We handle the signs later on. We're going to write down all products, give us 60. There's 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times, what was that, 12? Yeah, 12. And 6 times 10. In the S column, we add these together. 1 plus 60 is 61. 2 plus 30 is 32. 3 plus 20 is 23. 4 plus 5 is 19. 5 plus 12 is 17. 6 plus 10 is 16. And the difference column will subtract them. 60 minus 1 is 59. 30 minus 2 is 28. 20 minus 3 is 17. 15 minus 4 is 11. 12 minus 5 is 7. 10 minus 6 is 4. Now we're looking for the number in our middle term, the 17. And you notice we got two 17s. Well, what you do is you try one and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then it's the other one. Now once you get more comfortable with the signs, if you have a negative here at the end, then the only thing that will give you a negative at the end is different signs. So the 17 I want is this one right here. If this was a positive, the only thing that gives you a positive on your last term is when they're the same signs. Like I say, if you're feeling comfortable with the signs, then go ahead and do that. But otherwise, just try one, see if it works. It'll come real close, it just won't work. So the two numbers we're going to use are 3 and 20. Every once in a while, I have a student ask me, when I run across 17, can I stop? Well, 95% of the time you can. But you see in this problem, we have 17 in both columns. It doesn't happen a whole lot, but maybe 5% of the time. Okay. Remember our note. Larger number in the P column, which is 20. We're talking about the ones we're going to use. Larger number in the P column, which is 20, is the same sign as the middle term, which was positive. This is 17x is our middle term. Now, numbers have circles in a difference column, D for different signs. So if the 20 is positive, then the 3 will be negative. Then we use factoring by grouping. The first two terms have a 5x in common, so that gives me x plus 4. The second group have a 3 in common, and my first term's negative, so I want to factor out a negative 3. And that gives me x plus 4. Now they both have an x plus 4, so I'll factor that out in front. And remember, to see what goes in your second set of parentheses, you can cross out the x plus 4s in a previous step. What isn't crossed out goes in your second set of parentheses. So that's 5x minus 3. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at the next problem here. We got 4 minus 33x plus 8x squared. Now, when you're factoring, it just works out best if everything is in standard form. Standard form means from largest power down to smallest. So I'm going to rearrange this. Put the 8x squared first, the minus 33x, and then the positive 4 at the end. Okay, GCF. There isn't any. Grouping, that's 4 more terms. That doesn't fit. PSD is close, but PSD says x squared, x, no x, and there's no number in front of the x squared. Key number, x squared, x, no x, there's a number in front of our x squared. So we're going to take the number at the beginning times the number at the end, so 8 times 4, and that gives us 32. I'm going to write down all products, give me 32. There's 1 times 32, 2 times 16, 3, no, 4 times 8, 5, no, 6, no, 7, no, and then up to 8. If you're not very good at coming up with the products, just plug in your calculator. 32 divided by 2 will give you 16. 32 divided by 3 will give you some kind of decimal number. If you get decimals, it means it doesn't go into it evenly. S column, add these together. 1 plus 32 is 33. 2 plus 16 is 18. 4 plus 8 is 12. Difference column, subtract smaller from the larger. 32 minus 1 is 31. 16 minus 2 is 14. 8 minus 4 is 4. Number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 33, which is right here. So we're going to use 1 and 32. Remember our note on our signs. Larger number in the P column, which is 32, will always be the same sign as the middle term, which is negative. Number has circles in the S column. S for same signs. So if 32 is negative, then the 1 will be negative. Then we use factoring by grouping. First group has an 8x in common, and that gives us x minus 4. Second group have nothing in common, but my first term is negative. So we'll remember with GCF, if your first term is negative, you always want to factor out a negative. And that leaves us x minus 4. Our goal was to get these parentheses the same, which they are. So I'll factor out an x minus 4. And again, to see what goes in your second set of parentheses, you can cross out those x minus 4s in that previous step. And that leaves us 8x minus 1. And that's our answer. And time for me to start a new page, but let me make sure these are saved. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they are. Let's look at our fourth example. Got 8x squared minus 34xy excuse me, minus 30y squared. Let me grab a drink here if it might help. Okay. First method is GCF. As I look through this, they're all at least both divisible by 2. I guess that's it. So I can factor 2 out. And that gives us 4x squared minus 17xy minus 15y squared. That was our GCF. Now if we look what's inside the parentheses, with GCF we already did, so that can't be it. Grouping, 4 more terms, no, that doesn't fit. PSD, x squared, x, no x, but now there's a number in front of x squared, so that doesn't fit. So key number, x squared, x, no x, and there's a number in front of our x squared. That's key number. So now we're going to do key number. Now I got some extra junk in here, don't I? But again, what I've been emphasizing is x squared, x, no x, and there's no number in front of your x squared. Now we'll take number at the beginning times the number at the end, ignoring signs. So we've got 4 times 15. Now the 2 just carries down, but doesn't affect anything from here on. So we're looking at just what's inside the parentheses. What is that, 60? And I'm going to come up with my 3 columns. My P column on list all products give me 60. I got 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, and 6 times 10. S column, we add those together. 1 plus 60 is 61, 2 plus 30 is 32, 3 plus 20 is 23, 4 plus 15 is 19, 5 plus 12 is 17, 6 plus 10 is 16. Difference column, we'll subtract them. 60 minus 1 is 59, 30 minus 2 is 28, 20 minus 3 is 17, 15 minus 4 is 11, 12 minus 5 is 7, and 10 minus 6 is 4. Number we're looking for is a number on our middle term, which is 17. And I got 2 17s again. Well, our number at the makes it look like it's more than 5% of the time, doesn't it? Our number at the end here is negative, which means it's the one in the difference column. So this one right here. Again, until you get comfortable with that, just try one, see if it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 and 20, and we're going to rewrite our middle term using those 2 numbers. Now remember our note on our signs. The larger number in the P column, which is the 20, will always be the same sign as the middle term, which is negative. So we're going to have negative 20xy. The number I circled is in a difference column, D for different signs. So if the 20 is negative, then the 3 will be positive. Now really the only difference between this and the previous problems is in the middle term we had x before, here we have xy. And we just put that on both of those. 2 carries down. Now look at my first group, they have a 4 and they have an x in common. And that gives us x minus 5y. Our second group, they have a 3 and a y in common. And that gives me x minus 5y. Well, now I notice they both have an x minus 5y, so I'll factor that out. Remember, to see what goes in your second set of parentheses, you can cross out the x minus 5y's. And what isn't crossed out is what goes here. So we have 4x plus 3y. And that's our answer. Let's look at this next one. We got 30p squared minus 23p plus 3. Okay. First thing, the GCF. Don't have any. Second one, grouping. 4 more terms. Well, we only have 3 terms here, so that didn't fit. PSD. That's where you'd have p squared, p, no p, and there's no number in front of your p squared. Well, that doesn't fit. Key number. P squared, p, no p, and there's a number in front of your p squared. This is key number. So we're going to take our number at the beginning times the number at the end. So I'll take 30 times 3, gives us 90. We're going to write down all products, give us 90. There's 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, 4 times something. Okay, I lied to you. Just joking. 5 times something. 18. 6 times 15. 7, no. 8, no. 9 times 10. I always joke about this in well, I don't always, but sometimes I joke about this in class. I say, how many of these do you have to get right in terms of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and so forth? And every once in a while, a student will say, well, you have to get all of them right. It's like, no, you don't. You just have to get the one right that you're looking for, the 23. Sometimes I add and subtract wrong or multiply. So this method always works. So if you don't see your 23, you go through and you look to see if you added and subtracted and you didn't, you wrote down all of your products correctly. And if you did, then that means it's prime. It can't factor. The S column, we'll add these together. 1 plus 90 is 91. 2 plus 45 is 47. 3 plus 30 is 33. 5 plus 18 is 23. 21, 19. Subtract them. 89, 43, 27, 13, 9, and 1. Number we're looking for is a number in the middle term, which is 23, which is right here. So I'm going to use 5 and 18. Now again, we rewrite our middle term using these two numbers. The larger number in our P column, which is 18, will be the same sign as our middle term, which is negative. Number I circled in the S column, S for same sign, so if the 18 is negative, then the 5 will be negative. Went over too far. Group the first two together, group the last two together. First two have a 6p in common. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Had two p's, took one away, so it's a p, minus 3. Second group has nothing in common, but my first term is negative, so I'll factor out a negative 1. And that gives us 5p minus 3. Well, now they both have a 5p minus 3, so I'll factor it out. And remember, you can cross out the 5p minus 3's in the previous step to see what goes in your second set of parentheses. So what isn't crossed out goes there. So we've got 6p minus 1. And that's our answer. And I believe the end of that section. Yep. So let me go ahead and stop the recorder here.